Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's David Palmer, the Leo King. It is Wednesday, November, I'm pretty sure it's the 15th. Yeah, the 15th, right? Yeah, 15th, 2017. And yeah, I went live yesterday and did a really good presentation about the energy and these four energies that'll be in detriment. The new moon coming up. There's a lot of things that are coming up, you know, in the astrology, and there's a lot of things that are going on, but I want to talk about, you know, this moment right now, because in my own personal journey, you know, I'm a Leo, so this is definitely not the easiest energy for a Leo to get through. Although I think, you know, for a lot of us, it is highlighting a lot of hard stuff to get through, but it's not as bad as we think it is. So there's a lot of things that I'm going to try and, you know, kind of weave us through this weird story that we're all in right now, right? Like, we're all in a really weird story, and I want to kind of weave this energy and help people understand it a lot more and a lot better. Because even though I did a really good presentation in yesterday's live, I just don't feel like it's fully understood yet, because it's such a profound experience that we're going through, and it's a profound part of consciousness to talk about, and it's a little bit more deep than usual, and I don't think I need slides for this. And I did not feel like going to the to my shop today, or my warehouse, to film. So here it is. One, this is a lot of Scorpio energy. Okay, and it's with Jupiter this time. The last time we had this much Scorpio energy was with Saturn, right? And that was in 2015, and it wasn't even in 2015, because the truth is, in 2015, Saturn had left Scorpio when we were in Scorpio. So you have to go back to 2014, okay? So it's been 3 years that we got a break from this much Scorpio. So you could kind of be looking back at your life and being like, whoa, you know, all right, the last 3 years, you know, there's been a slow regress from a lot of these deeper things. And it's like we almost got a break from it. I know there were some crazy things that happened in 2015 that were probably the hardest, but the truth is I've been witnessing, not only on my Facebook, but from I'm doing readings for people, and people have been hitting me up about having crazy nightmares, deeper fears coming back. Some people have been hitting me up who have Jupiter and Scorpio, like, I'm having my Jupiter return, and this thing's scary, and I don't get it, and I don't know what's going on. And a lot of it is this time that we're in Scorpio, Jupiter is amplifying everything that happened where Saturn was during that time. And especially, you know, not only 2014, but 2013, when Saturn entered into these degrees. Right now, where Jupiter is where Saturn was in 2013. So it's going to bring up, especially in the first decan of energy, right? The first part of where Jupiter goes through, it's just going to start diving deep into the underworld. And it's bringing up so much of the fears and the issues that we have that go really deep in ourselves. And because Neptune is within range of this transit, it's a lot of subconscious crap. It's a lot of hidden stuff, at the highest degree of hidden stuff that we suppress, or that we don't deal with, or that we avoid through different situations in our life. So, you know, it brings up the stuff that we push in the corner, that we dig really deep holes with in our soul, and it's going to bring them up whether we like it or not. Even though it's Jupiter, it still brings it up. It's still Scorpio stuff. Like, Jupiter at least brings up the Scorpio stuff on like a gold plate and has protection around it and angels around it, but it's still Scorpio, crazy, deep, intense, fear-based stuff. Like, just because Jupiter's there doesn't mean that Jupiter's going to put lipstick on the pig for us. You know, it's still a pig, and, you know, it's still going to have whatever look that it has, you know. So there's a little bit of that. I think people are like, well, what's the benefit of this time with Jupiter here? Well, I don't think we're going to see the benefit for a minute, because with 4 planets detriment, we got the moon entering Scorpio as I'm doing this right now. We've got Mars in detriment, we got Mercury in detriment, and we've got Venus in detriment. And so you have 4 energies in exile, right? And they're all the personal planets. So when you have the personal planets, the ones that are the most personal to yourself in exile, it almost feels like you're not who you are. Like you feel like you're not vibrationally feeling normal, right? You're not feeling up to par. You know, you're not feeling yourself. And especially when Venus, right? Venus is in Scorpio. That can feel even more like, I don't know if I really feel myself. I don't really know if I feel that way. Now, if you have Venus in Scorpio, it might be different. But just in general, Venus in Scorpio is, okay, I'm going to feel the stuff I like a lot. I'm going to feel the stuff I really don't like either. And because of the Neptune trine to it, and I've always been a huge believer with Neptune, that even if Neptune's in a positive aspect, right? So let's say Neptune's making positive aspects to a sign, it's still going to bring up the sensitivity. It's still going to bring up a lot of very intense spiritual issues with that energy. And because we're dealing with the stuff that we don't want to deal with Venus, it's making it more sensitive to those issues than usual. And because the sun's here in Scorpio, so there's so much Scorpio and everything's in water, right? There's so much water going on that we're starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed in our feelings and our emotions. And I think because Mercury is in detriment in Sagittarius, there's no answer to the reason why. It's like the never-ending search for the answer why, right? Mercury is just like, I need to understand why, I need to understand why, and we can't get the answer. Even right when you think you got the answer, oh, you have a talk with somebody on the phone, or like I saw my therapist yesterday, and I leave there like, oh, I got the answers I need. And then, you know, it's like 24 hours later, I'm like, what am I talking about, man? Like, I don't think that is the answer. Maybe this is the answer why. People start flipping out right now at times like these because, one, when this many energies are detriment, we are not ourselves. We are not in the universe or the spectrum of the universe that we are home at, right? Now, there's a lot of planets coming home soon. Saturn's coming home. Mars will come home. It's halfway there. Venus will come in positive Sagittarius. Mercury's going to be not until January. Does it get out of detriment? So, you know, like slowly but surely, this is not going to be forever. And especially with the sun in Scorpio this last week that we've got, a new moon in Scorpio, and so much Scorpio and detriment energy, and the moon being in its detriment. You know, just know that this week is not normal. So if you're expecting radical, amazing, full-blown, like, party energy or full-blown, you know, like the craziest feeling of bliss in your life, you know, and I'm not saying you can't have that. I'm just saying, like, you're going to have to probably deal first with the opposite. That's what detriments are about. You have to learn from the opposite side, you know. So I think it's good because I think it's teaching us all to deal with the stuff that we've pushed down and we've pushed away for a long time. But I also think that it's hard for a lot of people because it makes us feel, I don't want to use the term not human, but it doesn't make us feel at our peak humanity. It makes us feel a little bit non-human. Or it makes us feel personally like we're not on Earth, we're not in reality, or that the reality is so crazy that it's not really, you know, what we think or who we are, or, you know, like we really start to question, like, did life take a crazy turn and are we ever going to turn back in the right direction? There's a lot of that. Like, are we ever going to turn back to the way that we had seen it before? And yes, we're going to turn it back the way that we've seen it before, but it's definitely going to take some time. It's definitely, we got to get through this motion. And a lot of this is Akashic record stuff. Like, because there's so much Scorpio stuff going on, and because it's digging up so much of the Akashic record stuff, this is digging up a lot of past life stuff. This is digging up a lot of faded past life stuff that you have to face, that you have to deal with, that you have to find your strength in, and you have to, like, regenerate from, or better enough, you've got to rise to the ashes with. But there's a lot of, like, fear around the stuff that you dig up. There's also, especially because Venus is there and Jupiter is there, there's a lot of relationship things going on right now deep inside of yourself, of ones that maybe are from past lives or bringing up past life energy stuff that's deep from our, the Akashic record stuff that's connecting right now. And of course, we're feeling the beginnings of Mercury getting ready to come into its shadow. So people are starting to feel the retrograde energy stronger. Remember, Mercury in the opposite sign of where it's from, in Sagittarius, getting ready to come retrograde in a couple weeks, is going to be a very weird retrograde that we're all starting to feel too. So it's like, if you just look from all around in the energy fields right now, it's like I can just go from this spectrum to that spectrum to that spectrum and show you that everything's off. Everything is not really aligning right now, right? Like the way that we want it to align. And I hate to be the messenger of that. Like, me, I'm all about positivity. And I think that the positive in this is, when we're on the wrong side of the tracks, we know what the right side of the tracks are. When we're, not feeling like we're in the right space, we now know what does feel like the right space. So we do learn a lot from this energy, of course, but it's definitely not the most forgiving energy either. It's extremely challenging, right? Like, I feel that this is the ultimate lesson of the end of Saturn in Sagittarius. This is the ultimate lesson of Saturn coming to the galactic center point, which is, you got to pull up out of your energy, out of nowhere, when you don't think that you have it. And you've got to somehow make huge choices in your life and do the things that feel destined to you, even though they might seem way off course or off from your energy at the time, right? Because I think we can feel a little bit off, like we feel off energetically, like we're just not aligned in our true vibration of self right now. The truth is that we're going really deep and feeling it deep down inside of ourselves. And we're pulling up a lot of weird stuff. We're pulling up a lot of stuff from multiple dimensions and multiple timelines of self. And we kind of get caught up in between what side we're on, what life we're pulling in, and how it all is connecting and channeling into now. So there's a little bit of I hate to use that term, disturbance in the force. There's like a little bit of a disturbance going on right now. So it scares people. Because you can feel it, like why is it all off right now? Why is it all not the way that I thought it would go? Things looked a lot different coming in than they are at the moment, so it really puts a lot of questions on ourselves. It puts a lot of pressure on us. And I would say that stress becomes extremely high during these times, right? Like stress is, I would think, the main culprit to it all, because when our soul is not aligning with feeling divinely in sync with God and with angels, because I'll be honest, like I feel like the way that this energy is going is it's taken us so deep and it's trying to reconnect us to God and to purity and to angels in a higher way. There's a little bit of like a bridge you got to cross to get there. It's not as easy as usual. And so and when you feel off, not only does that connection to God suffer, but it's the stress of life, and we forget that it's all okay. We forget that it's all going to work out all right. We forget, we start to get lost in our mind. We start to get lost in trying to figure a way out, when really sometimes it's just about accepting the way that things are, accepting who we are, accepting this vibration, and learning to make it home. It's a lot like how a homeless person must feel when they have to sleep somewhere that they're not used to. It also reminds me of in tarot, whenever you pull the 5 of Pentacles, and you get, injured homeless people in front of the church, and they're out in the snow and they're not in the church. It's kind of like the exile feeling, or when you feel like you don't get picked for the team and you're the last one, and then they don't know where to put you next. You know, there's a little bit of that feeling too with so much that's going on right now. And then you have to add on top of all of it, which I brought in yesterday's presentation, the fact that Neptune is in its stationary period this week. It's especially getting really strong Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, okay, Monday. Like that's when it's going to dead stop, not move. And that brings out a lot of this overstimulation to the awareness of stillness and the overwhelming feelings of disconnectionness, which I would say with all these planets in detriment combining with a Neptune station, the best term I can use would be, in a psychological term, would be depersonalization, which that term, you should look it up, means one who does not feel connected to either the reality in front of them or one that doesn't feel connected to even themselves, like they're kind of separate from themselves at the moment, you know? So kind of a weird vibration to feel with. Depersonalization can really affect people, and I've gone through it myself, like in my life, in really weird and hard ways. But, you know, at the same time, I've also found ways to deal with it and like learn that it's like our souls are taking a step back from reality for a second and doing a little check on things and being like, okay, before I really know what's going on here, let me feel it all out and let me see it all. But we're so used to the world continuing on, and I think what's freaky about all this is like you watch the world and you watch the way the world's going, and you have this little bit of this self that's a little disconnected from it all, and you want to be in it and you want to be doing the things that you want to do and you want to stay on track as much as possible. But with all this energy and with Saturn finishing in Sagittarius, like when Saturn comes into Capricorn is going to be a major time of constructing and building and so forth. Like this is a very major pondering moment. There's no coincidence that Mercury and Saturn over these next couple weeks are going to align exactly on the galactic center point. And Saturn, or Mercury's going to retrograde. Saturn's going to pass its shadow period and move on and create this tear in the universe of which direction do you go on. It really is the video game turning to a major choice in which direction we all go. And I think that there's a major paranoia around, am I going to make the right choice? Am I going to go on the right direction? What side do I feel more connected with? Because when we don't feel like we're at home in our soul, when we don't feel like we're truly in our real vibration, which is okay at this moment, okay? Like it's okay to feel that way. But what it does is it helps you make a better choice when you get to this crossroad coming up here in the next couple of weeks to go, okay, that's the road I want to go down, and because I've felt what it's like to not be in the vibration of what I want to feel, and I know what I do want to feel like. So there's reasons for everything, and there's reasons that certain things happen, and then there's reasons that beyond our control, we're like, oh my gosh, I don't, you know, it's like I wasn't ready for this, but I got to go through this, and those kind of things, you know, happen, and we're at that space right now. Don't feel upset. Don't feel like you're going crazy. Don't feel depressed. Don't feel like anything's wrong, because really, when you do the vibrations right now and you do the frequency energies and you look at it, they're in a major adjustment period. They are not aimed in a position of flying at full throttle the way you might want to fly right now. And they're at a very major adjustment, and an adjustment in seeing, well, where is home for you? This is also kind of like a little bit of an alien calling for each part of our own alien Akashic records. Like, okay, like, where is home outside of this home, and how do I remember that stuff and bring that into this life again, and remember the mission again and stuff, because sometimes when we don't feel like we're at home energetically, and that's where we're at literally in the astrology, all the planets are not at home. They're like the farthest from home. Not even the sun's happy, I'm sure. I mean, sure, the sun's in Scorpio, which is kind of like a neutral place for the sun, but the sun's, it's a Leo, right? Leo's sun, it's not happy in Scorpio. Like, there's really, the only planet that's home, that's happy, is Neptune. Uranus is second place as far as happy, in my opinion, which is in Aries, which even then, it's not, because Uranus is about, you know, people and connections, and when it's in Aries, it's a very independent sign. So if you just take a look at all of your zodiac, if you just kind of like spaggle through, there really is not one place in the astrology that says, woohoo! You know, all of the planets are right now kind of just like, I got to bite through this and I got to get through this. You know, I got to move to the next energy. And so when you relate that to human consciousness or the collective consciousness as a whole, there becomes that vibration like, gosh, I got to get through this, man. And I don't know if I feel, even, I don't mind not feeling my vibration the way that it should, but I somehow gotta get through this, you know. So that's really, you know, a lot of the things that I wanted to say. You know, of course, it's Scorpio season, so you think like, oh, so sex is a big deal and all this stuff, which of course it is, but because we are so far away at home in our energy, you know, I think like it's finding new ways to be more intimate, not only in personal sexual relations, but more intimacy with people that are not usually people we'd connect with, bringing forth, you know, kind of like a deeper look at what we do want intimately in our life more, the kind of intimacy that we want. And again, these are all things that deal with things that when we're outside of our true self, you know, it's like a good way to reflect on who we are in a weird way. So, you know, it can become tiring because when you're not in your vibration or you're not at your home, like you're not at your peak, you know, you're not, it's like when you live in a hotel, you know, it's like, or when I'm on the road, even when I'm like in my travel trailer, like it's still like, I know it's my home, but it's not my home. Like, I'm like, okay, I can't wait to get home, you know? Or like me, I just moved. I just moved here last week, right? This is a brand new home for me. It's beautiful. It's fucking amazing. I love it, to be honest with you. But I don't feel home yet at all. I do not feel comfortable yet. I am not comfortable here yet, you know? So, because it's new vibrations, it's new energy zones. And a lot of that, what's going on right now is it doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter if you move to a new place. It doesn't matter if you've been in the same place for 50 years. It doesn't matter if you've been in this, been in that. We all have a part of ourselves that feels not at home, not on. All cylinders aren't firing. You know, I know that's a guy term, like, you know, the timing's off. I was thinking about a motor and spiritually. But good thing the timing's on my 06. No, I'm just kidding. But it's like that. You know, at least I got my sprites, even though even my sprites don't taste the same. You know, there's a problem when my sprites don't taste the same. Oh my gosh. And I've got a new home for my sprites, you know, so it's like, you know, and even the sprites don't feel normal, you know, and even me, I don't I feel like I know this energy is harder for fixed signs because this is a lot of fixed energy, and I'll be honest, this is like the worst place for Leo. So as a Leo astrologer, you're getting, I would say, more of the harder version of it, because personally for Leos, this fucking sucks. You know what I mean? But if I separate my Leo-ness and look at it as an astrologer and as astrology as a whole, I can plant the understandings out there for people, or the comprehension behind the planets are not happy. The planets are not in places they want to be. You know, none of them are. None of them are, except Neptune. And Neptune is extreme vulnerability, right? So it's like, okay, that one's way up. It's like, okay, all right, great. The one planet that's home is the one that's vulnerability. And there is a vulnerable place, and vulnerability just doesn't mean, oh, I'm sensitive to energies around me. Vulnerability is, especially with this much Scorpio, like I'm going to show you my authentic self. I'm not going to hide that back. I'm not going to, I want to express that self. I want to let that self out. I'm not going to bullshit you, you know? Like I canceled a meeting today because I just was not feeling good. It's not sick. I just don't feel spiritually me. I don't want to go on a huge business meeting talking about a TV show when I feel like I'm not at home and I'm not in my vibration and I'm not feeling good, and there's just no point. Why put myself through this shit? Why, you know, I think that a lot of us are looking at life in that kind of way. Let me take a look at the chat. Give me one second. I have to get the charger for this. Hold on. I'll leave you with my Sprite. He'll talk for 1 second. I can't believe the battery just died right there. All right, so let's see what people got to say. We got a lot of chat going on here. I'm not going to answer individual questions about sun signs. It's not fair to everybody in the room. People at least were talking to my Sprite. That's a nice thing. I haven't named the Sprite today. So, I think that, you know, oh, people want to know when does it turn the corner. Well, I think that the big corner turn is Christmas, because Mercury, even though it won't be out of Sag, will be direct. Saturn will now be in home in Capricorn. Mars will be in Scorpio. Venus will be, I think exactly, it'll be finishing Sagittarius, getting ready to come into Capricorn. So, you know, at least a lot of this kind of I'm not at home vibration kind of ends, you know? Not even my hair's at home. Look at this. Have you guys ever seen me? This is my hair, and I really don't give a fuck. So, you know, I look like freaking Carrot Top or something, you know? So I think that's the corner turn personally. And I keep feeling, I mean, all the channeled videos I did were all about the end of December, like make your choices and make your big things now and do whatever you got to do. I think that's extremely important right now, you know? Andrea asks, how do things look for business endeavors? I think things that have been in motion for a long time are coming to completions and launching. I think that things that are being started right now are being talked about, and when the energy turns at the end of the year, I think those things will move forward. But I think for businesses that have already been in motion, you know, a lot of things are shifting and moving into a new direction in that space already. Like, I don't think businesses that were pre this energy are kind of dealing with this stuff as much. Actually, I mean, everything's dealing with it right now. I think that everybody's preparing for major changes in their business stuff. Major changes, like major. Like with Saturn just coming into Capricorn, if we just take that as a basic look, I mean, everybody's like, okay, I need to take this shit to the next level. Saturn just trine Uranus. Like everybody business-wise is like, I need to do something more innovative, different, I need to tap into things differently. So in all businesses, I think it's more like people are ready to step up to the next level and do whatever it is to get there. And I think that's a big thing that's going on. Does this feeling happen every year? No, Technically not. You usually don't see a lot of planets at the same time go into detriment. Of course, all these planets, well, not all these planets, right? Like Mars takes 2 years to come around the sun. So, you know, 2017 was the year of Mars in Libra. 2016, no Mars in Libra. You know what I mean? So you've got to kind of look at it in that kind of a way. Or, you know, maybe Mars, if Mars was in Libra, it would have been at the beginning of the year. But, you know, because there's always that weird retrograde, and we had a Mars retrograde in Scorpio in 2016, right? So, but it also was in Sag. And no, technically we wouldn't have had Mars in Libra in 2016. If I do my math correctly, we wouldn't have. So, no. It's not something that you see. The fact that they're all piled up like this, all before one of the biggest transitions of Saturn ever, because Saturn is coming home. Saturn has 2 homes, and guess what? They're right next to each other, and they're in Capricorn and Aquarius, and they're just so happy. Saturn's finally coming home for 5 years in a month. Do you think that it's any coincidence that all these planets are saying, "Oh, I'm fucking mad, I don't want to," right before that, you know? Like Saturn, the way that it works when it comes at home is like, it puts everyone in order. You got to look at Saturn as kind of like a captain, like everybody attention on deck, everybody line up. Okay, so like it's almost like Saturn right now, and Sag is going, hey, I'm about to come home. If all you planets aren't ready to get your shit into gear, you guys better get your little crappy feelings out now, because I don't accept feelings. Remember, Saturn is the opposite of Capricorn, or Saturn in Capricorn is the opposite of Cancer, right? Feelings don't mean shit to Capricorn vibration. Not saying Sun and Capricorns, because every time I talk about astrology, all the sun signs get all butthurt. You know, it's like, no, I'm not saying Capricorns don't care. I know some Capricorns that care more than Cancers. You know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is that Saturn in Capricorn does not accept rests, emotions, crying, sorrow. It doesn't want any of that. It says, get the job done or you're done. And this is the preparation for that kind of energy coming in. So there's a lot of weird vibrations right now. It's like we're kind of getting our kinks out, you know, we're getting our shit out. And with all this Akashic Record, Scorpio stuff coming up, right? Venus, Scorpio, there's all these weird things and vibrations that we're feeling. And we're like, okay, I got to deal with it. I got to experience it. I got to feel it in order to know it. That's the whole point of Jupiter and Scorpio. I need to feel and experience the deep feeling to know it. That's what Jupiter is in Scorpio. You can only know through experience, right? So, you know, we have to experience the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know what I mean? Like, and then we know, right? Sometimes as we're exploring our depths of our desires, our wants, our deeper underworlds, we find things we like a lot. And then sometimes we go down there and we go, oh, I do not want that at all. Keep that shit down there. Right? So many questions. Hold on. Do you all believe in God? That was the question. I believe in God. I mean, I've been all about God my whole life. I'm a big believer that God created everything. I don't believe the planets are God. I'm not one of those people. So yeah, I mean, I'm a God. Everybody knows, everybody that watches my channel, I always talk about God. I pray to God live on my spiritual dance music. You know, I'm a huge God cheerleader. So go God. Anyway, well, I wanted to put that stuff up. Well, I like how Jackie says, when are we getting rid of sun sign horoscopes? Yeah, soon enough. I'm not a big sun sign horoscope fan. I like to talk about the collective, and I like to talk about sun signs, but like horoscopes for sun signs, it's like, I'll do them. I do them, but I just think there's so much more going on in the collective, you know? It's kind of like politics. To me in astrology, you know, when we really start battling out like, okay, left wing or right wing, it's kind of like Cancer or Capricorn, Leo or Aquarius, Gemini or Sag, you know? So it's like, of course we learn from both sides, but it's like, you know, can't you be a liberal and a conservative? Like I am. Like I'm both. You know what I mean? I take all the conservative points of view that I love, and I take all the liberal points of view that I love, and I smash those together, and that's me. You know? So like I feel like with astrology, it's like I have this, there's this sign, and then there's that sign. I love these parts of this sign, I don't like these parts of this sign. I learned consciously from that. And then on the other part of that sign, I learn from those parts, but I love those parts. So I incorporate both. You know? So I think that's like the best part about it all. Somebody asked, do I read the Bible? I've read the Bible many times. Now what I do is I read the daily, once in a while, I have a daily Bible verse for the day. It's like 365 days of Jesus. Like if I need inspiration from the Bible, I do that. It's like a little bit more compact, fast. I listen to Joel Osteen. That's always been somebody I listen to. Like I vibe with his vibe. So like if I'm going to listen to anything about the Bible, I listen to Joel because I think he's a little bit more, you know, he doesn't get too crazy Bible banger-ish. You know, he keeps it all in a more humanistic, more relative to now point of view. You know. So, and that book, the 365 Days of Jesus, is awesome. Like you can just pick up a verse today. Why not? We'll go get the book. We'll see what today says. I haven't picked it up. Hold on. Actually, the book is called Jesus Calling. Jesus Calling. So today is the 15th. All right. So I'll read it to you. Approach problems with a light touch. When your mind moves towards a problem area, you tend to focus on that situation so intensely that you lose sight of me. You pit yourself against the difficulty as if you had to conquer it immediately. Your mind gears up for battle and your body becomes tense and anxious. Unless you achieve total victory, you feel defeated. I think this is ironic with what we were talking about today. There is a better way. When a problem starts to overshadow your thoughts, bring this matter to me. Talk with me about it and look at it in the light of my presence. I'll stop here. I think it's extremely important that when a problem does arise in life, that if you are going to bring that problem up to your mind, you should probably go to God first. You should probably go into prayer first. You should probably put that through the light source. You should probably bring it under the light of God and talk with God, talk with Jesus, talk with wherever your divine source is, and bring that problem there first and investigate it there before your mind finds a solution. God will always bring us solutions to everything at all times. This puts some much needed space between you and your concern, enabling you to see from my perspective. So to be able to see from the higher up's perspective, to see from God's perspective, to see from an angelic perspective, you will be surprised at the results. Sometimes you may even laugh at yourself for being so serious about something that was so insignificant, which is always so true. You will always face trouble in this life. And that's in like, you know, right here. It's all written up like in bold. But more importantly, you will always have me with you, helping you to handle whatever you encounter. Approach problems with a light touch by viewing them in my revealing light. And that's Psalm 89:15 and John 16:33. So, you know, when it comes to my Bible, when I was young and I was in youth group when I was young, and I went there on my own. Like my family wasn't even Christian, no joke. Like nobody, like my buddy was, and my buddy, we used to go there to go check out the chicks and skateboard. And then I just so happened to stumble upon, at church, we used to watch Veggie Tales, but then they do Bible study. And I was like, oh man, I got to do this Bible study thing. Like, when do we get to go outside and check out the chicks on the skateboards, and try and do ollies in front of them and kick flips and impress the chicks. But it's weird how God turns you there. It was part of my destined path. So long story short, I started doing Bible study, and I got the Bible really quick. My grandma, my dad's mom, she was a Christian. She is a Christian Science, so she read from the Bible a lot and has done a lot of Bible study in her life, right? So I would get read different Bible verses as a kid, and I would also get a lot of the Bible stories in kid form when I was young, So for me, a lot of my Bible study was when I was young, to understand how to connect with Jesus / God in a way. Of course, now that I'm an astrologer and I mix all that together, like, to me, the astrology is just kind of, it's just like a roadmap of God, it's like if you download an app on your phone, like for Waze or Google Maps, right? Like, I kind of feel like that's what astrology is. Astrology is like, okay, I'm gonna load this app that God did, right? And like, okay, that's it. But like, God is everything. So I don't feel like I think astrology gives a better connection to God, than a lot of things. I think you can still have your connection to God without astrology, which of course is where I think Jesus comes in. And I think that, or the teachings of how Jesus is, or the teaching how that is, I think that's, and I've done a whole movie on it. You can go watch it, Age of Deception. There's a lot to, however you get to God, just get there. Just get there. Like, I will be an advocate of that on my channel forever. I've lost people watching live. The second I brought out talking about God or a Bible or a verse, I watched 50 people just drop. You know why? Because it's something people don't want to talk about. Like, people are afraid of God. And that's their deal. And I am not one to judge people at all. You know what I mean? But I believe that no matter what it is that you're doing in the spiritual realm, that God should be first, always. God is the answer to all of the problems. Astrology is a way to help understand them better, understand the problems, understand maybe ways to deal with life better. But the teachings of God and God are always going to be kind of like a fundamental base for you. Astrology is the things outside of that base, So, anyways, that was my answer about God. And setting the record straight. Because I think people don't have the record straight with me about being an astrologer and God. Like, I'm like pro God all the way. I'm a huge believer in God. And I'll be honest, all my success and all of my manifesting powers and all of the dreams that I've been manifesting in my life all came through God. No, they didn't come from just understanding my astrology or how astrology works. They come from God. So, I can toot my own horn all day and say I manifested it and all that shit. It's because God opened the doors for me. It's because I dedicated my life to God and God's work and doing God's work, right? So if you dedicate your life to God, I guarantee you success. That's not something that you have to buy. God is not something that you have to buy. God's free. And it's the best thing out there. It's even better than any astrology out there, anything, because at the end of the day, God is an unknown but yet known inside thing, right? And when you find that, you can make anything happen. Astrology is just a really good way, once you've found that, to understand the journey a little bit better. I know we're not supposed to know the journey completely, and for people to think that we know the journey completely, even as astrologers, like that, like, of course we don't. Of course we don't know exactly how the fucking journey's gonna go. Nobody does. We're not God. But man, we can have a very good clue of it and at least feel comfortable about it, of why things are going on. And even though we trust in God to be the ones that, okay, I get it, but you know, it's like I feel that the stars and the way that we see these patterns on Earth and reality, like, they're there for a reason. They're just not there to be ignored. I don't think anything that God gave us in life, anything is meant to be ignored. I think everything that's been brought in front of us has been used as our way to paint our life the best way possible. And I think astrology is one of the best ways in the world to paint your life, through God, with astrology. That's where the power is. It's when you separate those two that they don't work hand in hand. You've got to bring them together. So anyway, lost 100 people talking about this subject. You know, that's just, this is how it is. So, you know, it's okay if you don't feel good at the moment. Like, you know, it sucks. I had to cancel a meeting tonight. I don't feel at my best, but you know, I had to do this video to describe to people, you know, the stress can be hard for people right now, and feeling off and not feeling within oneself. But there is ways through it. There is ways out of it, you know. So I hope that helps. I'm sending you guys all my best. Yeah, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for tuning into this live. I hope that this video helps people. See you guys all later. Bye.